Hi, Scrappy people. It's Tracy Reed here today, and I'm coming at you with the very first video in the series of 6 countdown to Christmas videos, countdown to December daily videos I have coming at you in the next 6 days. And in these 6 videos, I'm going to be editing my scraps. So these are a series of DIY your scraps videos, plus altering some of the pre-made things that came in the Simple Stories Merry and Bright collection this year to sort of suit my needs. So what I'm thinking is that I don't like doing foundation pages. I generally don't use them. I rip them apart, and so it just seems like a pointless venture to me. However, I am loving recently creating these clusters and embellishments for myself. So I thought that I could do, instead of December daily foundation pages, I could do December daily DIY your scraps thing. So I'm going to make a bunch of different styles of clusters and different sorts of embellishments over the next 6 days to sort of prepare myself for December daily instead of doing foundation pages. So what I'm doing in this video is I have a bunch of wood veneer that I'm altering. And now all of this wood veneer is stuff that I've collected over the years and have never used. So while I am a fan of wood veneer generally, I find that I don't reach for it and don't love it most of the time when it's plain or simple, or it feels like it's not really serving too much of a purpose. So I thought I would take a bunch of my plain wood veneer and a bunch of my sort of wood veneer that's on the more boring side of things and alter it in a way that would make me want to use it. So I busted out a few things. I busted out paint, and I busted out embossing powder, and also I'm going to work with a bunch of stamps. And if you know me at all, you know that all of this is stuff that I don't normally work with. So this is a huge step out of my comfort zone for me, and some of it does not go well. And you'll see me play with some stuff and then get rid of it, just put it to the side if it's not working for me. And that is all part of this process and part of being creative, right? So I have applied some green paint, some white paint, and some red paint to some of these wood veneers, and I've also started embossing some of them as well. So you can see that I embossed that 6 already, and I have some holographic embossing powder that I was testing out on some of these wood veneers, and it did not work out so well. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up using mostly the gold embossing powder, which is unfortunate. I'm going to have to go and get some white embossing powder instead of the holographic to use more during the holiday season. I did use the holographic embossing powder up there by that 6. You can see on that white circle, you can sort of faintly see a snowflake, which is kind of a cool effect, but I am going to change it up down the line because it just wasn't working out well. I painted the bottom half of this one with white, and then I added some of that holographic embossing powder there too. I am going to leave that there and just let it go, but I do stop using the holographic embossing powder right about now. I have a star stamp that I just put embossing powder on over that blackened wood veneer. Now I decided to take that stamp and I'm going to put little gold stars on the inside of all of these white stars, and I really like how that turned out. They were kind of boring, just white, but they're really cool with these gold stars in the middle now, so I really like those. I've painted the bottom half of this black and it's like a chalkboard wood veneer. I painted it with red, and now I'm adding more stars and gold embossing powder here, and I don't have one of those anti-static things, so it gets a little messy, and I'm actually kind of okay with it being a bit messy. So I've added the stars here, and I'm going to add joyful as well. So I take that stamp from an old Gossamer Blue line, and I'm going to cut the joyful in half. Well, actually, I just stamp it in half. Stamp half at a time, kind of. And I'm going to use the gold embossing powder on there too. And it took this wood veneer that I've had in my stash for years, probably 5 years now, and made it something that I'd actually use. So I'm just kind of cleaning up the embossing powder a little bit around the edges there so that it was still legible. I'm going to emboss one of these trees. You can see I'm just kind of playing, going through. I don't really have a plan going on. Just changing stuff up, making it a little different. I use a lot of gold embossing powder. I guess I was having fun with my newly rediscovered toy. And I like the sort of half painted, half embossed effect going on those numbers. So I'm going to repeat that on all 3 of those numbers. And then this one, I didn't clean it up very well, and so it's kind of hard to read. I'm not sure if I'll ever end up actually using that one, but it is what it is. Like I said, I'm just playing and trying to see if I can come up with something a little bit more fun than the basics. So I've painted the bottom half of this 7, and I'm going to emboss the top half with that gold embossing powder. And then I did find some more numbers down the line. I thought that this was all I had left, but I did find some more of these big numbers, so I might end up actually doing that again with those other numbers just so that they match. I'm going to emboss this one with holographic powder, but of course you can't see it very well, and oh, it just flies everywhere. These little tiny wood veneers do not want to sit still. I decided to emboss the bottom half with gold wood veneer here, and that didn't work out so well either. Or no, not gold. What did I just say? Emboss the bottom half with holographic embossing powder, not gold wood veneer. That is weird. So I found this stamp that was almost exactly the right size for this banner, and it says wish list. So I'm embossing that. Then I'm going to pull out, I get a little bit tired of embossing, so I'm going to pull out some red stamp pad 2, and I'm going to start stamping some of these in red instead of with this gold. I do like the way that turned out. And I know I'm putting these off camera, but I'll pull them down and you'll get to see them all up close at the end of the video, so don't worry about it. Pulling out some more old stamps. These are mostly going to be Gossamer Blue stamps from when there was a Gossamer Blue. I've collected them over the years since I worked for them for so long. That said Holiday Notes in red. This one I'm just stamping in red. So it doesn't have to, like, they don't all have to be like complicated pieces of art. They just have to serve a purpose other than being a blank wood veneer for me. So I embossed either end of this wood veneer and then stamped red in the middle. That one has that holographic embossing on the bottom, and I decided to just add to it rather than tossing it. So I'm going to stamp ho 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 on here in kind of an overlapping manner. I'm going to just completely emboss this 25. I initially had some stamping done on it, but I didn't like the way that it looked, so I just decided to emboss the whole thing. Don't fly away from me. Stay. I love watching it change. So fun. Seeing what I want to add here, and then I add a regular stamp, and the wood veneer is sort of glossy, so it doesn't stay, so I just give up on that one. It's already got gold glitter on it. It'll work. Want to stamp something over this black one right here, so I decided to stamp a Christmas tree and add some embossing powder. Little simple touches that step up your December daily just a little bit. Decided not to mess with any more of those trees. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with them other than just emboss them, so I gave up. I'm going to paint this one green since I have some red going on. And this is really old paint that I pulled out. I don't think I realized how old it was. And since it's in like cheap Martha Stewart bottles, it did not hold up. So it was super thick. So I just tossed all this paint afterwards. This is its last hurrah. I'm going to repeat stamp some arrows on this, and then I come back later and decide to add some more to this piece. I didn't love that stamping, like it didn't bother me, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So I just add more to it until I like it. Adding another sentiment here. Maybe. Oh, I was pushing either edge down on the embossing pad so that it would have both edges sort of at an angle like that. Had to think about it for a second to make sure I had the same angle on both sides. This triangle, I decided to dip it in the holographic and just have like a pointy little tip. I'm going to clean up some of this embossing powder since I'm getting it everywhere. That's why I put a white sheet down, or a white piece of paper down before I started. Then I decide I'm going to add some more to this. Trying to figure out what would fit there, and I couldn't really find anything that fit well. And I decided to cut the 20, I think it's a 2014, that's how old this stamp is, off of that, and then added December Memories there. Don't need the 2014 anymore for sure. I'm going to emboss this in gold since it already looks like a starburst. An actual starburst, not the candy. And I'm getting close to done here with the basics. I decide that I'm going to, this is where I decide that I'm going to make a little half line just like on the other ones. And I decided to just push this one right down on the stamp pad instead of bothering with paint. And I like how that turned out. It's really cool. So now I'm kind of looking at these going, let's add some green. Let's do the same thing with green, and this green was ugly. This was not a green for Christmas, so I just tossed that. So now I've decided on which ones I'm tossing out, which ones I'm not going to do, and now I'm going to start layering some. So I'm going to add this little Christmas tree to the ho ho ho. Cute. Just trying to add to some of the ones that are sort of boring at this point. So I cover up that holographic stamped snowflake with a real snowflake. Add another Christmas tree there. Just trying to figure out if I want to add that to something or just leave it the way it is. And I don't like the way that this one ended up. It's kind of boring, so I'm going to add a gold embossed stripe above the white area. So I'm masking this off so I can make it easy on myself. Making sure I cover up the white part and cover up above it so I just get a nice thin stripe. And that washi tape did not want to stick to that embossing, so that's why I struggled a little bit. Just dipping it in the embossing powder, pulling off washi tape. That worked out really well. Coming up on the end here. Just gluing some stuff down. I have some older wood veneer that is decorated that I'm kind of using in here too. So here come the close-ups, and I'm actually going to zoom in here, and then you'll get the stills at the end. So join me again tomorrow for my next edition of DIY Your Scraps Countdown to December Daily. All right, thank you.